raise or suspend the debt limit as soon as January 14th, she would most likely need to begin using extraordinary measures to prevent the United States from defaulting on its debt. A reminder, we have never defaulted on our debt. Now, we are some 23 days out from Donald Trump being sworn in, and the new Congress will take their seats on Friday, but the chaos clearly has already begun. Joining us now to dissect that all is outgoing Democratic Congresswoman Susan Wild of Pennsylvania. She serves on the House Foreign Affairs, Education, Labor, and Ethics Committees. Congresswoman, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us on this holiday break, I'll say. Let's start with Speaker Johnson's job security or insecurity. Final government spending bill passed. There were 34 members who voted against it. All of them were Republican. So we're clearly already seeing some opposition to Johnson in public, and then privately, too, as the Washington Post has reported. Are we going to have a second act of Kevin McCarthy in which the Speaker is deposed by his own party?
Well, I think the thing that is going most in Speaker Johnson's favor is the strong feeling that I believe the GOP will have to avoid another Kevin McCarthy situation where we were literally just stymied for several weeks and went through multiple votes before a new speaker was elected. And so I know that there will be that was not a good look for the GOP. I know they're going to be doing everything they can to avoid that, but it's going to be tough because there are some members of the GOP conference who are perfectly content to burn the place down. And there's nothing like failing to elect a speaker to start that process.
Yeah, I was going to say, your party leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has said Democrats will not bail out.
Because she's going to.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries has said Democrats will not bail out Mike Johnson if he needs the votes. We already have a handful of Republicans who said they will not vote or have hinted they won't vote for Mike Johnson. So if you were a betting person, would you bet now on Johnson retaining his post?
I would bet that it will take more than one vote. Okay. It's going to be hard to say how the margins will actually turn out, because keep in mind, although Leader Jeffries has said that Democrats will not bail him out, remember that there are some members of the Democratic caucus who hold on to their seats by a very, very thin margin, even more so now with the recent election where a number of new members of Congress were elected by a tiny margin. And a lot of those people are going to be wanting to show their bipartisan cred. And there are at least one or two members of the Democratic Conference who have traditionally the Republican conference has been able to count on them for an occasional vote in their favor. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting and dramatic, but I don't think that he will get it on the first vote. But I suspect that at some point cooler heads will prevail, because the last thing the GOP conference wants is a repetition of what happened when Kevin McCarthy was ousted. And frankly, I think they're looking around and saying, if not Mike Johnson, then who?
Right. Well, that's a good question. I don't know if there's anyone who can unite the entirety of the party, as we saw from the Kevin McCarthy saga. What's hanging over all this, of course, is that the government funding bill that was just passed only pushed the can down the road for 3 months. And then you have Secretary Yellen's letter today about the debt limit, which obviously they're going to take extraordinary measures. It's going to push it for several more months past the government funding deadline. But you have these two massive things that are going to happen early on in this administration. Having just gone through this process, do you have that much confidence that we will avoid a government shutdown? Do you have that much confidence that we will avoid a default?
So I came into Congress on a government shutdown back in 2018. We've managed to avoid it since then, but it's been precarious at times. As far as a default, I do not expect that we will have a default. But what Donald Trump really wanted to avoid was the messiness of raising the debt limit, having it raised on his watch, which is why he was so vociferous against the bipartisan government funding arrangement that had been entered into, and that he and Elon Musk very late came to and torpedoed. And it's understandable why he doesn't want to have that battle on his watch, but he's going to. And it's not going to be pretty. And he will have a lot of people in his own party who are going to give him a very hard time. And I don't think he or the speaker can count on most of the Democratic caucus to bail them out.
Interesting, because there are Democrats who want to eliminate the debt ceiling entirely, which was actually Trump's demand towards the very end of that fight. Is there a future in which it does get eliminated under Trump's watch?
I think there is a future for it to be eliminated, and you're absolutely right. There are a lot of members of the Democratic caucus, led by Brendan Boyle, who was the one who first introduced the concept. He's the ranking member on budget. Right. And yes, it's something that we absolutely should get rid of, but it has to be done in due course. And as you just saw recently, Democrats weren't going to cave on that bill on what Trump and Musk wanted the Congress to do just to get rid of that debt limit. So it's going to have to be done in due course. It's going to have to be done properly. And frankly, I don't know if the votes will be there to eliminate it altogether. You just said something that kind of tickled me a little bit. Trump and Musk wanted. I guess we do have to put them together. I'm not going to say they're co-presidents, but there is this weird dynamic that's happening here, as we saw from the chaos around the government funding bill. Elon Musk was the one who actually initially complained about that bill, and then Trump was the one who jumped on board with his complaints. I'm just sort of curious, in your conversations with fellow Republican House members, and just sort of your observations from the chamber, who has more influence over the party right now? I don't mean that tongue-in-cheek, because I think the answer is Trump. But I am curious how much influence you believe Musk actually has over the party right now. Well, I do think it's President Trump, but keep in mind that Elon Musk is the one who has threatened senators who have indicated that they might vote against some of Trump's nominees, and that he will put his very powerful purse behind primaries to make sure that those senators live to regret their votes against Trump nominees. So I don't think it's President Trump that the GOP conference will be keeping their eye on, but they always will have in mind that Elon Musk has his ear and Elon Musk has a lot of money.
And a megaphone, too. He controls Twitter.
And a megaphone.
And a megaphone, too. I want to ask you about the state of your party. Obviously, we're in this state of postmortems. Every Democrat has offered one. But the fact remains, Democrats are entering this new congressional term. They have significantly less power than they did. Obviously, they made one seat gain in the House, but they lost the Senate, lost the White House. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told Politico this week that he believes the judiciary will serve as one of the Democratic Party's strongest lines of defense. You know, I got to be honest, talking with other Democrats, they are not as bullish on the judiciary being a line of defense for the party because of just the decisions that the Supreme Court has made, the fact that a lot of these judges are Trump nominees. I'm curious, what is your assessment of the role that judiciary will play in the next 4 years?
Not enough of one, unfortunately. I grew up in my adult life believing that the judiciary was the branch that we could always count on. And I no longer believe that. And I also question Senator Schumer's comments because the Senate actually left several open judicial nominees out when in their recent efforts to clear a lot of them before a new Congress and a new presidency. So I don't think that anybody should be counting on the judiciary because the Supreme Court looms large. And most of the decisions that we are looking at least that Congress is looking at, are ones that have a federal question or a constitutional issue that will put them square before a federal court and ultimately the United States Supreme Court if it chooses to take those cases. Exactly. And I don't think we should count on that at all. Yeah, day one, we're going to probably get an effort to end birthright citizenship. Before you go, I just want to ask you for personal reflections. You spent last 6 years in Congress. As you're finishing out your term here, do you have any advice for House members about how to make the institution any better, and what is next for you? So my advice to anybody in Congress would be to keep your own counsel and follow your own mind, follow your own heart, follow your constituents' wishes, listen to them carefully, and don't be part of a herd mentality. I think that's really important. I think, frankly, that's what the American people are very much looking for. As for what I'm going to do, I'm going to give myself the grace of a month off in January.
No.
Yes, imagine.
No.
I've said to somebody recently, I have not been unemployed since I was 14 years old, so this will be truly unique for me. And but then what I really want to do is to continue to find a way to advocate for my community and for my country. It's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire life, and I want to make sure that it doesn't stop right here.
All right, Congresswoman Susan Wild about to go on an epic Netflix and chill binge. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Recommendations.
I will do my best to get you my recommendations for some good streaming.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, what a segue. The tech leaders, foreign officials, and billionaires who are flocking to Trump's Florida resort and what they want. NBC's Ali Rafa gives us the lowdown from Mar-a-Lago ahead. Plus, how Donald Trump is focusing on revenge and retribution in his second term. What his critics and opponents are bracing for next. Don't go anywhere. You are watching The Saturday Show here on MSNBC.
Get the latest updates on future MSNBC live events, thought-provoking conversations, and insider perspectives while building your MSNBC community. Scan the QR code on your screen to sign up today.